Welcome to On the Go with AAUW, the American Association of University Women. I'm Kathleen Myers, your moderator and host. Our lively panel will be talking to us about honor flights. So without any further ado, let's go wheels up. And I'd like to introduce my first guest, retired Colonel James Riffee, a World War II Purple Heart Army veteran. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Jenny Brawley, a volunteer with Honor Flights. Welcome to the show, Jenny.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
And Greg Locker, a pilot for Honor Flights. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And Jenny, why don't you tell us what is Honor Flights exactly?
Thank you so much. So Honor Flights is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to bring World War II vets into the DC area to see their memorial. There's 134 local hubs spread out across 42 states in the country. And it's no cost to the vet. The local hubs raise all of their own funds for the flights. I do want to mention, too, that the main priority right now is to fly the remaining World War II vets. However, Korean vets and seriously ill Vietnam vets are also included and considered for the program. So that's what Honor Flights is. It's typically one day. So for a lot of the vets, they get up early in the morning and then typically one day.
And Greg, you fly them here from all over the United States?
Well, I'm actually right here at Reagan National. So when they're here, I greet them there at the jetway. However, the day starts very early in the morning. Just preparing everything. Jenny will send a whole big list of everybody who wants to come and volunteer and meet them. We decorate the jetway, whatever band or choir that I've got there for their arrival. It just takes some time to get it all set up.
But they get quite a reception.
Oh, quite a reception, yeah. And they have no idea that it's what's waiting for them at all.
So, Jim, we bring these veterans into DC, and they have one day whirlwind to see all the memorials, the World War II Memorial, Korean, Iwo Jima. You want to tell us a little bit about how that feels for a vet to come here for the first time and see those memorials?
Well, I belong to the Metropolitan Washington, D.C. chapter. We are the youngest chapter in the Honor Flight Network. Mm-hmm. And what we serve is the veterans of World War II who live in the District of Columbia, Northern Virginia, and the counties of Maryland that are adjacent to the district. It's also a one-day program, and the local veterans have an opportunity to visit the World War II Memorial, the Korean War Veterans Memorial, the Vietnam Memorial, the Iwo Jima Memorial. And one of the highlights of our visit, we think, is to visit Arlington National Cemetery to see the changing of the honor guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Wonderful. So your vets are pretty local, so they don't have to be flown in?
No, they are all local.
They're all local.
Either the District of Columbia, Northern Virginia, or the counties of Maryland that are adjacent to the district.
I see.
And so far we have had 70 World War II veterans attend our program.
Oh, that's amazing. That's wonderful, Jim. And Jenny, you're a volunteer. Can you tell us a little bit about the different ways that people can volunteer on Honor Flights, how to honor our veterans?
Yes, as a volunteer, one of our main focuses is to get the community involved in helping to honor the vets, to our wonderful vets. And we can use volunteers to come out to the airport. As Greg mentioned, when the vets that fly in, you know, there are some local trips and bus trips, but when the vets that fly in get to the airports and they fly into either Reagan, Dulles, or BWI, upon arrival, we try to get as much of the community involved to greet them, and the airlines are gracious enough to allow a lot of the volunteers to actually get through the security to be right at the gate.
So they get a gate pass, which ordinarily you wouldn't be able to just get all the way through to a gate, but you get a gate pass beforehand.
Yes.
And different affiliations, different groups.
It is a wonderful opportunity for a civic group, for a scout group, for an alumni group. Say, for example, you went to school at the University of Wisconsin. They have a very active alumni group that comes out and greets the flights. And the vets come off of that jet bridge and they have no idea. And they have this wonderful greeting by 100, I mean, sometimes 200 people.
Easily.
Easily. And a lot of times when we talk to the vets and ask them what was the best part of your day, they say, when I stepped off the plane and saw all these people, all these flags, all these scout troops, and the
children, a lot
the
of children.
the involvement of the children, the vets really appreciate the younger kids. So there's a lot of different opportunities for volunteering.
That's great. And Greg, you were telling me that not only you just have people greeting and hugging the vets, but entertainment as well. So
very interesting how it all started. When we were starting this, all we had was a boombox and a little CD of 1930s and 40s music. Well, a lady went by and she saw what was going on, and it was an arrival, and she missed her flight because of it, but she just started crying because it was so wonderful for her, and she happened to be with the National Symphony Orchestra. She says, "You will never go without live music again." And from there, she got somebody, and from there, it's just gone word of mouth. And every single arrival and departure, we have music or dancers.
And they do swing, they kind of go with the World War II era of swing, 30s and 40s and that type of thing. Is that?
Jenny's with
right?
that. But we want to just, we want them, to go home with, just a joyous feeling, It's just that it was a great day, and they do. I don't know how you guys do it after having such a long day, but even guys in wheelchairs and stuff, they just pop right up and they just start dancing. So
Yeah, we're showing our viewers a picture of a band at the gate too. So as a member of the greatest generation, Jim, and we just thank you so much for your service. Do you feel that this program really honors the vets and says a great big thank you for what you've done for America?
Unquestionably, it does. I happened to participate in the first honor flight for the Capital Region back in April of 2014. And it was one of the most glorious, unforgettable days of my life. And I'll always be grateful to all the individuals who were responsible providing the funds that was necessary for the honor flight in this region to entertain. In my group, there were 22 World War II veterans.
Oh, gosh.
And you were speaking of wheelchairs. 10 members of my 22 group were in wheelchairs. But they all had a good time.
They had a good time.
As we all did.
Good. Well, now that brings up an interesting point too, Jim. Greg, I think you were telling me, or Jenny, there's no cost to the veteran because of the funds you raise, and I know some of the airlines, including U.S. Airways, American Airlines, what they just make the flights for free?
Well, there's absolutely no cost to the veteran whatsoever. Different state or cities, they'll have fund drives, different things that they do to try to get some money going to fund the flight. Guardians from that city also pay a little fee. I think it differs from each city, but
So each veteran has a guardian to travel
yes.
with?
Yes,
So.
just in case, just to keep an eye on you guys, and but yeah, just in case, just to keep an eye on them.
Well, it's nice companionship too, right?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Great.
But they pay, and I heard it's, like there's a waiting list for that too, to be a guardian.
Well, how about spouses?
No
Jenny, you may know
spouses.
more.
No spouses allowed. So guardians are another opportunity to maybe get involved here in this area, because some local hubs don't have enough guardians. And each vet has to have a guardian to be there for them, to be their hands and eyes, because you're in new territory, and some of the monuments don't exactly have very good footing, correct? So there's opportunities for guardians, but no spouses.
No
So
spouses.
in order to be a guardian, you need to be between 18 and I believe 65, and be able to walk about 5 miles, I think is about what you walked that day, and push a wheelchair.
Is that right, Jeff?
So-
Yeah, I know. When I received my, what was termed as your marching orders, there was a requirement that each veteran must have a guardian. And it was very specific. The guardian could not be your spouse. And the qualifications were, as Jenny has mentioned here, they had to be in good health, and they had to be between the ages of 18 and 65. Fortunately, I had one of my daughters who lives in Northern Virginia, and she met the qualifications, so my daughter was my guardian, which added to the pleasure of the entire day.
Sure. Oh, that's a fun story.
And,
yeah.
and that happens quite a bit, is a daughter or a son will be the guardian for their father or mother even. And it just makes it a very special trip to be able to share that with a family member.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the fact that you know, we have these wonderful male veterans, but we have a lot of female veterans as well. And Greg, you told me a wonderful story about Lucy. Can you share a little bit about Lucy?
Yeah, Lucy was, or is, 108 years old, and she is the oldest living female veteran in the U.S. And she flew in July, last July, and big fanfare. And it was funny. It takes a little time for her to get moving. And there was a lot of people in the jetway, and I was standing there in the galley, and I was watching her. She was coming. She was in a wheelchair. But everyone's like, what's going on? What's going on? What's taking her so long? And I'm just watching her. She's putting on her lipstick, so she wanted to look good.
Yeah.
But it was wonderful. There were hundreds of people there to see her, and she stayed overnight, but she had a wonderful day. You know, she saw different memorials, and I think she met with the president as well. And
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
what a
it was
time,
nice.
huh?
It
Now
was very
you've
nice.
met Bob Dole.
Well, I haven't met Bob Dole, but I know a lot about him because he was a seriously wounded veteran of World War II. He got wounded in Italy. And matter of fact, I read that he was wounded and he laid on the ground for 9 hours before he was rescued. And speaking of the World War II memorial, he was one of the chairpersons to raise funds for the memorial.
Yeah, we're showing the viewing audience a
Yes.
picture of Bob Dole at the
Oh,
memorial.
yes. As a matter of fact, I also attended the 10th anniversary of the World War II memorial, and Senator Dole was one of the guest speakers. But he's in a wheelchair now, he's showing here. But he spoke very well about his role in raising funds for the World War II memorial.
That's fantastic. That's really
And a
great.
lot of times I understand that when he's not feeling well, I know he tries to go as many times as he can, but when he's not there, his wife will step in and go at his place.
Oh, that's
And
yeah.
it does make a difference because sometimes, you know, I've heard when the vets are going, oh, wow, I met Senator Dole today, or he
Yes.
was there to see us.
Yes.
So,
Oh, and he's
Yes,
one
but-
of them. As you were saying,
Yes.
he was wounded. I mean, he's one of you, right?
Yeah, he was seriously wounded, and
Yeah.
what I read about him, again, was that he was laid on the ground for 9 hours before the medics was able to get to him because the combat going around was,
Yeah.
they just couldn't get to him.
right.
But he survived, obviously.
Yeah. Well,
That picture that you just showed,
Yes.
that was actually one of the World War II vets that I had the pleasure to be a guardian. And when we were at the World War II memorial, the word got out that Bob Dole was there. And he said, I want to get my picture taken with Bob Dole. So it was really special to him to be able to get to see and to meet Bob Dole.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I think our viewers can appreciate that. You know, our veterans have sacrificed so much for us, so that we're free today.
Yes.
We speak English today
Yes.
because of Jim over here, right? So it's so nice that there is a program where we can just give a little bit back. We can't match what you gave us, but we can just give a little bit back. And I think there was a story about an honor flight coming in, and it was announced at the gate. So people just waiting for their flights kind of congregated. Are you familiar with that
Oh, yes.
story? Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Well, Jenny will send the list the night before, and usually on Saturdays the list is very long, which is no problem. I'm depending on how many I get, I'll be there at 4 or 5 in the morning, getting out these gate passes. But right before the flight lands, I'll make an announcement, and I'll just in the terminal. And I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a few moments before your flight departs, or if you're just now arriving, I'd like to invite you down to whichever gate it is. I said, where in about 5 minutes we will have, however many veterans are coming off, 150, let's say, 150 World War II veterans coming in from, Cincinnati, Ohio. They're here just for the day, and we'd like to give these guys a nice, warm welcome and let them know how much we thank them for their service. And I'm telling they come, people
Yes.
come. And like I said, with the one lady with the music, she missed her flight. But we do have several people miss
Yeah,
their
we don't want
flights.
anybody to miss their flight, but we do want them
But
to
they
participate.
do, and it's just, that just strikes up more and more interest, and it's touched. People are just touched, and they're just crying and waving and, clapping and, waving flags, and it's just great.
That's extraordinary. That's just marvelous. And not everyone has heard of honor flights. I know I certainly hadn't heard of it until fairly recently. The Daughters of the American Revolution try to get up a group of people to go meet at the gates, as do as Jenny was mentioning, other organizations as well. But you don't have to belong to an organization if you're just a person who has a little free time on their hands.
Exactly. There is no really time commitment if you want to come out to one of the airports to greet. And as I mentioned, they fly into all 3 area airports. Then I can direct you to a website to visit to get the schedule from Reagan. And we can also put you in touch with the group that organizes the Dulles flights. Okay. So anytime, Reagan is so convenient to the metro, so if you're just going into work downtown, just stop off at the airport, spend half an hour to greet the vets, go back on to work. And it will be the most rewarding experience that you can imagine, just to give back a little bit to the vets who did serve.
Well, we had the website up there for our viewing audience.
Great.
So maybe they'll contact you. And Jim said it was one of the most memorable days that he's had, but for a volunteer, it could be the most memorable day they've had.
Yes. Absolutely. And so there's plenty of opportunities for volunteering. I think you showed the website, but for any more information on how to volunteer, whether it's a greeter, sometimes we need guardians, entertainment, we can send over to Greg.
Yes.
And sometimes we need just people behind the scenes working. So there's plenty of ways to volunteer, to serve, and to give back.
Great, thank you.
And you don't have to volunteer either. She needs volunteers, but if you just want to come out and just greet the flight,
Yeah.
she's got a website, which is the same website, right?
I didn't see the one, but it is.
But
a
you
It was
can-
the volunteer.
It's the volunteer website.
That's the one, right?
Yes.
And you can just click on a day. They'll have the whole schedule up, and you can just click on the day and if you just want to come and just be a part of it that morning, you can come. You don't have to
They
volunteer.
are morning flights, so it's
Yes,
not a big
it's typically-
commitment. As you say, maybe on your way to work or something, just stop off and participate.
And so, for example, if you were raised in a different state, go onto the website, see when a flight's coming in from that state, and come out and greet. You don't have to be a volunteer to greet. You just come out and to serve.
Because we're very fortunate in this area. They're all coming in from all over the country, just in D.C. So, we are very unique people here in Northern Virginia, Maryland, D.C. to be able to witness this living history, coming in and just to thank them, just the little bit that we can for what they've done. So,
And what would you say to
Well, I
encourage?
would say in my tour, one of the most pleasant experiences that I had was when we arrived at the World War II Memorial. And there were a huge crowd there. They were on both sides of the path, 3 to 4 deep. And as we walked by, they shouted off, "Thank you for your service." They reached out to shake our hands, and the ladies gave us a hug. And that was a big surprise to me, because I really didn't think that the present generation had any interest about a war that happened 70 years ago. But that changed my mind. And I know now that the Americans do care for the 16 million Americans who served in World War II. Unfortunately, 406,000 lost their life in World War II. And the last I heard is there are only about 1 million World War II veterans alive today. And according to a recent report from the Department of Veterans Affairs, at least 640 are dying every day. Well, that's a very sad commentary there.
It is
It
sad,
is.
isn't it?
Which is all the more reason why Honor Flight's main mission is to try to get as many World War II vets to their memorial for that ceremony and that closure that they never got. Since its inception, Honor Flights has flown approximately 183,000 vets to
Isn't that great?
or flown or bust to DC. So let's try and double that.
Oh, wouldn't that be fantastic?
Well, we have in the Honor Flight Capital Region, our next Honor Flight is going to be the 16th day of May, which is happened to be Armed Forces Day. So we hope that World War II veterans in the metropolitan Washington area will know about that and can apply to attend. So
And I would just
forward to that.
I would just encourage our audience to go up to your website, the Honor Flight's Capital Region, a little bit different than your website, and just check the schedule and see what's coming up.
Well, we have one on the 16th of May for sure, and we'll probably have another one in the fall of this year, as we did last year. We had one on the 8th of November last year. So we now have one definitely on the 16th of May, Armed Forces Day, and then according to our director, we will probably have one in the fall as well.
Great.
So if you know, or if anyone in the viewing audience knows a vet here in the local area, they can go to the Capital Region website and fill out an application to recruit. Now, if someone in the viewing audience knows a vet, maybe their father or mother, grandfather, grandmother, in a different state, there's another website that I can refer you to find the local hub in that area for them to apply. Because again, the goal is to get as many vets to DC.
Yes.
I had a recent experience. I had my World War II cap on. I was walking around, and a man came up to me and said, "Thank you for your service." And I usually ask him, "Well, is your father alive today, or your grandfather?" Most of them say no. But one said to me, "Yes, my father is alive." And I said, "Has he ever heard about the Honor Flight?" And the individual said no. And so I gave them the information so they could apply for the Capital Region Honor Flight program, and I hope that he did.
Oh,
Oh, I
awesome.
hope so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You were going to say something, Greg? Or?
well, I was going to say, even though I represent U.S. Airways and American, they do come in for all different airlines. I know at Reagan National, Delta has some, right? I think
Yes, Delta, Southwest.
and Sun Country. I mean, it really is a pilgrimage. So, we've hit a milestone, with my airline or our airline, is 400 chartered
flights?
honor flights. Yeah, and that's just the
400.
chartered
Wonderful.
ones. There are groups of 50. 75 that come in, that buy tickets on commercial, so that doesn't include them. So Yeah, like Jenny said, how many, what's the total? 138?
183,000 total.
yeah.
Just about 18,000 just last year.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was
Well,
fabulous.
well, you know, one of the purposes, when the designers wanted to apply for it, they were told that the World War II memorial had to express the unity of the American people in World War II. And it just occurs to me that programs like the Honor Flight, that's nationwide, is a great unifying force for America. And I'm so glad to see it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned it's kind of cross-generational because, as you said, we just assume a young person doesn't know or doesn't care, and you have found that not to be the case at all.
May I mention one other thing about the people who care for the World War II? At the end of our program, which we celebrate at the Armed Forces Retirement Home in Northwest Washington, I was given a large envelope. And I opened the envelope, and there was at least 30 or 40 cards and letters from my family, for friends, and from people across the United States. And I have that today. It's a cherished treasure of mine that I look at that often, and I read these little notes and cards from grade school people, from high school people, from colleges, and it makes you feel good.
Oh, of course it does, and thank you so much for that. And I really want to thank all the guests on the panel. You've had some really interesting stories. I think we all want to just go up to those websites and volunteer and get involved. You know a veteran, let's get them to DC and let's get them around these memorials and give them the thanks and that they really deserve for what they've sacrificed for us. So join us next time on the Go with AAUW.